Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Revere Human Rights Commission April 4th meeting. It is currently 5:07, and we are all at the City Council of Chambers. I think this is the most full the City Chambers have been for the HRC, so I'm happy that everyone is here. I would like now to call the meeting to order. I'll start with the roll call of commissioners. Dr. Garcia?
Present.
Chief Callahan?
Present.
Father Wellington?
Present.
Commissioner LaRusse?
Present.
Vice Chair Jean Baptiste?
Present.
Commissioner Pitch?
Present.
Chief Bright?
Present.
Attorney Molly McGee?
Present.
And HRC Director Steve Morabito.
Present.
And as you see, my name is I'm Chair Hosseini, and I am also present. Before we move on to the meeting agenda, we would like to have a land acknowledgement that we are in the land of the Pawtucket, and we would like to extend an invitation to any Native Americans and indigenous peoples that live in Revere. Before we move on, I would like to give us a moment to read the mission statement for the HRC before we start. Whenever you folks are ready. Go ahead. The mission statement of the Revere Human Rights Commission is to promote human and civil rights and empower all people of Revere by ensuring that everyone, especially the most vulnerable and marginalized, have equitable opportunities, equal access, and are treated with dignity, respect, fairness, and justice. Thank you, everyone. All right. Moving on to the next agenda item, I would like to have an motion to approve the minutes from the March 7th monthly meeting.
Motion to approve.
All right,
Second.
thank you. All in favor to approve the March 7th monthly meeting?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to the monthly acknowledgements. April 1st starts the National Volunteer Month. Earth Month starts April 1st. Autism Awareness Month started April 1st. Arab Heritage Month started also on April 1st. A lot of these started on April 1st, actually. We have from April 13th to 16th is Khmer New Year, and in doing so, we are acknowledging that we do have a historical Khmer neighborhood, as many people of Revere know, in Shirley Avenue. And in April 10th, we have Eid, which marks the end of Ramadan for Muslims who are celebrating that. April 2nd was World Autism Awareness Day. April 7th is International Day of Reflection on the 1994 Rwandan genocide, and April 22nd is officially Earth Day. Are there any other events that people would like to acknowledge while we're here?
Chair Hosseini, I would like to add for the community awareness, April is Sexual Assault and Rape Awareness Month as well.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Pish. Go ahead, Mr. Morabito.
Also, April is Autism Acceptance Month, Stress Awareness Month, Earth Month, Alcohol Awareness Month, and Arab American Heritage Month.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morabito. For anyone in the community who hasn't heard an event or a holiday that's been mentioned in the meeting today, please reach out to us so that we could add that to the calendar on the HRC website. Thank you. Moving on from that, we would like to just recap what was done in March. Before we go on for that, I would like to give Father Wellington an opportunity to introduce himself to the rest of the committee. So whenever you're ready, Father, you could go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Father Wellington. I am originally from Brazil. I have been here in the United States now for 16 years, and I am currently the pastor of Immaculate Conception Church. It's a Roman Catholic church, and I also serve as a judge to the Metropolitan Tribunal of the Archdiocese of Boston. I am happy to be part of this committee because I represent first the Catholic population of our city, and then also the many immigrants that come from Latin America. There are many Brazilians and Hispanics people in Revere that are good people, that honor their duties, they respect and they love this city as all of us. So it's for me an honor to be with you and to defend what is good for our people.
Thank you very much for being a part of the HRC, Father Wellington. And I can speak on behalf of everyone that we're excited to work with all the new members that join us for this fiscal year. Another thing that I also want to mention is to congratulate Vice Chair Jean Baptiste on receiving the Black Excellence on the Hill from the Massachusetts State House. So I would like to give a round of applause.
Thank you.
Vice Chair, would you like to give any words about how you felt about receiving this award?
I think it was very, very nice. And I did receive many awards before, but I think this one, the most powerful. And then I was very pleased, especially when Revere gave me an award to nominate me as a person that done so much work in Revere. That was very nice too. And then I had the opportunity, went back, meet some colleagues that I haven't seen for a long time, and then meet some people that said good work, and then congratulated me. I was there. It was very, very nice. And then the most important thing, my wife took the most pride, she was the one made me receive those kind of award, because if it wasn't for her support, I would not be accomplish those kind of things. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause. All right. Well, I'm just gonna repeat the congratulations. You absolutely deserve it, and it's an honor to have you on the commission. Another thing is the event that we all had over the weekend, the Women's Day event. I think it was a great turnout, considering the fact that we did it on such a small time interval. But I think we all worked together to bring such a wonderful event. For anyone who did go there, I did see most of the commission over there. Feel free to speak about how you saw the experience and how do you think we should go about it for next year if we decide to do another Women's Day event as well. So, Mr. Morabito, you could go right ahead.
Thank you, Chairwoman Che. So first I want to say thank you because you did a great job setting up. And I also want to thank Samaya she's a great bingo caller. So I think she's going to be the city official bingo caller from now on because she did it with such excitement. But no, honestly, considering the short amount of time the commission planned it, it was amazing. And I want to give a special shout out to Paula Sepulveda. She was amazing from day one, and without her, it wouldn't have gone as smoothly as it did. So thank you.
I think we should give her a round of applause. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Morabito. Chief Brian, I saw you over there. How did you think about the event?
I had a great time. I think it really, for the amount of time we had to put it together, you did a tremendous job. Everyone there really enjoyed the social aspect of it, the food, watching the women who were on it in the presentations. I thought it was a beautiful night for women, and I was honored to be there.
Thank you, Chief Wright. Anyone else? I know Carew was there, Samaya was there, Dr. Garcia. Go ahead.
I just want to thank the event committee for doing such a great job putting this event together and the contribution from organizer. I had such a good time. It was so honored to see so many women who much deserve recognition for the Women History Month. And then also to see many male leaders who came out and supporting the event. So I was so honored and pleased to be there. Thank you all for putting such a great event. I'm sure next year will be bigger, right? Thank you.
I hope so. Thank you very much, Commissioner Pitch. Anyone else?
A few words. I think it was a very good, well put together in general event. I think the words of encouragement coming from different leaders, female leaders in the community, and also the social aspect of the event and the organization itself. I think those things really spoke highly, and it was good to see members of the community being acknowledged as well, recognized for the work they have done. One recommendation I would make for next year would be probably to do more recognition. We have a lot of female leaders in our community that needs to be recognized. We have businesswomen in our community, a lot of those, and we have to dig deeper. There are those invisible voices, figures that we have in our community that sometimes do a lot of amazing things, but they don't get the recognition they deserve. And I think it's important for us to do a better job in terms of identifying them. But overall, I really enjoyed, as Chief Bright just said, I really enjoyed the environment. It was very well put together, a lot of people, kids. The food was amazing. So in general, I think it was a great event. So you should be congratulated for putting something so nice and so profound and that touched the hearts of many women in the city. Thank you. And male.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia.
I think you did a phenomenal job, Shayma. Like, I can't state that enough.
We.
No.
It's not just it's we.
Well, yes, but I think it was really great. I think one of the highlights of the event for me was the fact that I knew that you put so much care into it and so much consideration for all different types of women. Like, I didn't even know until we were passing out food and stuff that you made considerations for, like, some people don't eat non-halal food, so you made sure even at for a last minute event to be able to get that and to cater to women like that was so meaningful, I think. And yeah, just to echo Dr. Garcia's words, I think when we do this event again next year, I just want to keep making those considerations, considering women in business locally, other invisible voices. I'd also really like to see, if we do this again, I really loved that we had women of all different generations. Like, we had older women, we had really young kids, we had a couple of teenagers, but I'd really like to see more women our age, like early young adults, show up to that event if we do it again.
No, I think when it comes to recognizing more women in the community, I do want to give a shout out to both Carew and Molly for setting up a list for me to reach out to. So I do want to thank you folks for that. And they did present such a wide variety of lists in terms of local businesswomen. It all just came down to who responded and who didn't. But that's my job, my goal for going forward, to put more of an effort to really go to each business and really talk to the owners themselves, just to really get them more involved in the event. I do want to emphasize the fact that this was a group effort. Even though for most of you really don't think so, but I really think that everyone had a huge role into making this event. So thank you very much for those who really, helped the community out to make such like, once again, it is an HRC event. So I do want to thank everyone for being involved and like even coming to the event as well. Additionally, there is also a point that I want to echo from Commissioner LaRusse, is that that's one thing that I did point out during the event, is that we had a lot of different generations of women, especially the people who were presenting. They were mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers. So it's like, I'm glad that I provided some sort of insight of the people who made the city the way that it is now, and even further. But just going off to both you and Dr. Garcia's point, no, that's something that we just have to think about and go further, much more and beyond for next year if we decide to do another women's event again. But once again, thank you very much. I think I agree that it was a very successful event, and I hope that we do it again next year. So thank you very much for that. Alrighty.
Can I say?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel guilty, I wasn't able to go. So
You
but
weren't
I
there in
just wanna-
spirit.
I just want to say, congratulations to all of you guys, especially to you, Chair, that made a big effort, to get this event, been successful, the way it was. Again, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. If there isn't anyone who wants to continue talking about the event, I would like to move on to our next agenda meeting, and it's just going back to our discussion about the subcommittees. For the new members, for Father Wellington, I'll just describe the different subcommittees. So we have 3 subcommittees. We have the events and cultural events and celebrations subcommittee, which basically just focus on like the event that we just had before, really finding something to really focus on and create an event around that, or celebrating some sort of cultural event that, or celebrating some sort of holiday that the city celebrates, but like there isn't really an event for it. There is the education and research subcommittee, where it really focuses on the different aspects of the city and how we can improve on each of the aspects, whether that be through the school committee. How can we learn more about the city in terms of history? And then last but not least, it's like the community communication organization subcommittee, where really just focuses on how can we be more integrated with this with the community, and how the community can be more integrated with us, so that there's an interpersonal connection between the 3. I could definitely provide you more information. You don't have to make the decision now. I will definitely follow up with you on a list of just a document that goes more into depth, so that you can make whatever decision you want. But for Vice Chair and Commissioner LaRusse, I just wanted to ask, if there's a subcommittee that you would like to be joined, since I provided that information in the previous meeting. So whenever you folks are ready.
Chair Hosseini, will you please mention the subcommittee again, and then who's on each subcommittee, if you don't mind? Thank you.
So for the cultural events and cultural events and celebrations, that's going to be with me and Chief Bright. For the research and education subcommittee, that's going to be, I believe, Commissioner Pitch with Dr. Garcia and Attorney Molly McGee. And for the last one, it's going to be for the last one, which is the community engagement and communication. That's going to be with also Commissioner Carew Pitch and with Attorney Molly McGee. So those are who is part of each of the subcommittees, and the people that you're going to be working with for each one.
I am, as a new commissioner, interested in joining the research subcommittee. Is there a formal process for how we have to go about it, or, okay?
Go ahead, Father Wellington.
So without having much information, I'm going to tell you what my heart is saying. I would like the one of community engagement and communication.
Thank you very much, Father Wellington. How about you, Vice Chair?
For now, I will think about it. The other thing I would like to ask, what is the role for each of those committee that we try to, the subcommittee that we try to get people into, like kind of what will be the role of this group? The role, those subcommittee.
Essentially, how I'm thinking about going about it is that if there's something that we'd like to plan out as the HRC for the year, depending on what we want to focus on, it would go to the appropriate subcommittee. So, for example, hey, we want an event to celebrate Women of Revere and just acknowledge Women's History Month. That would go for the cultural events and celebrations because we're creating an event to celebrate women. But yeah, it really depends on what we want to plan out for the year, and whatever group that it aligns with the most is the one that's ultimately going to spearhead that project, and then we just go along with it as we go through the project.
So therefore, I will be participating in the cultural event.
Thank you. I will send all three of you an email just to like officiate that you folks are part of the subcommittee, and I'll send you the, for anyone who's in the other subcommittees, there are folders that I will share with everyone who is in part of each one of the respective subcommittees. So I just look out for an email for that.
Chair Hosseini, may I remove myself from the Evaluation and Research Committee?
Yeah, of course. I got you. I guess we could continue our discussion from the previous meeting about like how are we gonna like what is our outlook for the rest of the year. I know that there was a discussion between Commissioner LaRusse and Dr. Garcia about how can we go about planning for events, or it's like even without planning for events, but like retreats for us to be a part of, and just continuing that discussion just so by the end of it we know exactly where we're going and what we're moving on from there, so that we're prepared for the next fiscal year. So whoever wants to start that conversation.
From what I recall and from what was recorded in the minutes, I think we're at a good place to start thinking about, especially because we're in full attendance today, maybe setting a date to start setting up workshops for ourselves to determine like what our plan is for the fiscal year. I think that would be a good start. I think if we start outlining as a calendar year, then we can start breaking down from there like all of the kind of sub-issues that we had brought up in our last meeting.
I know some of the, Commissioner Pitch, I know that some of the things that we focus on, some of the things that we objectively mentioned was just to have yearly objectives and really understanding what the mission statement means for each and every one of us, and just very much creating the definition of what education means to every one of us. So I know those are like the three main points that came out of the previous meeting. Is there anything else that you folks would like to focus on while we are, I guess, workshopping the workshop? Awesome. Go ahead, Commissioner Fish.
Chair Hosseini, I am wondering if we can have like a half a day training or a couple of hours training with all the commissioners. And then we can also go over our priorities for the year, if possible.
And I assume that would be something that's within our break, because like we typically, for the past, ever since we started the commission, we had like a break period between when the fiscal year ended, and then there's like, we start back in either August or September. So I assume that the ideal time to have that training would be within that break period. Is that something that you folks are interested in, or should it be within the time that we're actively working as a commission?
Can you clarify, like, the dates for the fiscal year, like?
Yeah, so it starts July and then it ends in June.
Chair Husseini, if I remember correctly,
ahead.
people would have the break because there was a break in the city hall. A lot of people were traveling. I'm not sure if our trainings would suit us during this time in the summer where people are off from school and people seem to be off from work.
I think, well, to you, Attorney McGee's point, I think it's a good time, like, the best time to do it is that instead of having a monthly meeting, we would have a retreat instead. And then we would end the year off without a meeting, but to essentially train for the next one. Like, I think considering your point, because that's exactly what happened the past 2 years, like, people ultimately got busy. But if we do it in a time where we're scheduled to have a meeting, instead of having the meeting, we could allocate that time for a training. What do y'all think?
Chair Hosseini, I think it would be good because in our fiscal year starting July 1st, if we can come up with a training date for the next couple of months so that by July 1st we have the information that we can share with the public for the rest of the year from July 1st to June 30th of 2025.
Anyone else
Yeah.
would
Madam
like to?
Chair.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think it may be problematic scheduling things after July 1st during the summer period. So, yeah, if we could, squeeze something in between now and the end of this fiscal year for the training, I would agree with that. I think that might be best. Maybe we can, sorry? Oh, no, that's all. So I thought, yeah, that would probably be best to get it in before the summertime.
I think going, just like based off what everyone has said, to like look for, just plan a training from now until June 30th. And if time is allocated, instead of having one of these meetings, we will just spend that time doing the training. I think going forward, that's the best way to do it. In terms of organizing the actual training, would we like to have someone come in and ultimately like mentor us? Like when we did the racial equity training 2 years ago, we did have someone from an organization come in and ultimately just like set up the meeting, set up the training for us, and really just went through like the different types of training. So would we like to have someone come in for that? And does anyone have an idea of who we can bring in?
I think based on our previous conversations, it sounded like, at least for us to plan for the next fiscal year and to break down stuff like what the mission statement means for us and stuff, that it makes the most sense for it to be more of like a workshop rather than a training, like internal dialogue amongst ourselves, rather than someone coming in and explaining to us how we should do or what we should think.
Go ahead.
So one thing we have to keep in mind is next fiscal year is next fiscal year, meaning we know what we have in the budget for this year. We don't know what will be in the budget for next year. So if you're making a plan for next fiscal year without knowing what we have for funds, it's going to be problematic, because you might put some effort into making plans that won't come to fruition.
Go ahead, Commissioner Fish.
Chair Hosseini, there's two different things. I think there's two things can happen all at once. One is the training. One is that the commissioners can also work together and come up with a plan for like the next fiscal year. It's like, what are the major work that we want to take on in terms of events, in terms of community engagement, evaluations, like what are those kind of work what are those goals that we want to accomplish for the new fiscal year, right? We can work on that, and then in the meantime, I know that we thought we could have a training last year, the circle practice training, and because it's a summer, everybody were not here, so I'm wondering if we can bring that back. That's for the training, and then whatever workshop we want to have, since we have the financial support from the mayor for this fiscal year, so we can plan on that. So I think it's two different things. One is us coming up with a plan, and then we can either inviting guest speakers or trainers to work with us for the next fiscal year, and then one is other trainings that we might want to have for this fiscal year, if it makes sense.
No, thank you very much for that, Commissioner Pitch. I was thinking the same lines as you, but at the same time, we could like put both of them together. Because when I was thinking about trainings, I was like, okay, we could possibly do the circle training that we missed out on last year, and then incorporate find ways of how we can incorporate that circle practice into events throughout the entire year. So like kind of double it as a training workshop in which we would think of like hypothetical events of how we would use the things that we learned in circle practice to build events for the next fiscal year, if that makes sense.
Sorry, one more, I'll stop. Before I forget. Also, I would like us to explore, because like there are community that also have Human Rights Commission, and Attorney McGee has brought some resources to the commissioners that Cambridge, they've been doing a lot of work, and it would be great if we can meet with human rights commissioners from Cambridge, so that we can share our learning and our practices. I would love to kind of have that space to kind of learn from others.
I think ideally that would be like the best way to do it, to bring the both training and the workshop together, since we're not necessarily focusing on something as particular as circle training, but something in more general, like having someone from Cambridge who has, someone from the Cambridge HRC who has experience with a more involved Human Rights Commission, and then we would learn how to brainstorm events through what we've learned through that training. And I assume if we are going to set up a training for that there are going to be times in terms of like, okay, well, like scenarios of how we would approach them as a Human Rights Commission, and that's our way of like really brainstorming. Does anyone else have to say anything about that?
Sure. I think that's the best approach. I'm just going to go back probably 2 or 3 years ago when we put this Human Rights Commission together, and we all came together. And if I go around this room, if I ask everyone what's the mission of the Human Rights Commission, I'm sure that we all going to say, a few words here and there, but we certainly don't have a clear understanding of what the role of this body. So with so many things happening around the world, in our country, racial tensions, people being killed right and left in the Middle East, people's rights being violated nationally, internationally, and with so many things going on, I think that to start the year off and to build a shared understanding of what our mission is all about and what we are supposed to do as a body, it would be great to bring a keynote speaker to come and talk to us about what the Human Rights Commission is all about. I think that would set the tone for the year. It would set the tone for this group, and we would have probably a very good understanding where we stand. There's many times in this room, people have shown up questioning us. There's so many things that we can go back and remember, right? So in order for us to have that shared understanding, I think that we need to start that way. Start with somebody. It could be Cambridge, it could be somebody out there with expertise in the area that can come and set the tone for the year and the tone for us. I think that will be the right thing to do and the most efficient way of starting, in other words, calibrating this group. Just my view.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Anyone else would like to speak on the matter? Because I firmly agree with Dr. Garcia in terms of going with that approach.
I just wanted to say, I like the idea of like joining the two, like the workshop and the training and everything. But I don't know if, maybe I just misunderstood, but I hope that if we do combine them, that they won't all be like in the same day or something. I think if we could find a way when we like schedule it to kind of space them out at least a couple weeks apart, because I think, especially if we have someone else coming in, it's kind of good to like hear about what other people are doing in different cities within HRC. Let that kind of like sit and marinate in your head before we go about deciding how do we want to go about planning our own events and stuff.
I think it makes sense for it to be on two, if it's not two separate days, but like there should be some space between like the two halves of the training. When we did the racial equity training, that's exactly what we did. Like it wasn't all just one day. It was split between a couple of days, and I think that's the way you've described it. I think that's the best way to do it. Just so like if the first half of the training would be to really just learn from everyone else's experiences of people who have come from more integrated human rights creations and just learn from that. And then when it comes to really brainstorming and working out hypotheticals of like how would we approach a situation, we would have already have that background knowledge from what we've learned from other HRCs. So I think that's like moving on, like if we are going to continue going on with the plan that Dr. Garcia has mentioned, I think that's the best way to do it as well. Go ahead, Commissioner Fish.
So if I back up a little bit, what the work I would like to do is to have community informed, because our work rely on our community, right? What the community want to see this Human Rights Commission are doing. And in order to do that, I think I have been sharing this thought process for a while, since I've been here for 3 years. I would love to really be in a community doing listening, learning tour with the community, either through meetings, circle, focus group, etc., to really get the essence and the issue and the gap that is happening in the community. When we have those information, it can inform our work. I do not want us to keep colonizing the communities, like we sitting here at bodies and then kind of creating agendas and information that might not be what the community really need. So I've been, it's like approaching from that point, so that everybody have a sense of belongings, like if they're part of the process. So I think first and foremost, I think to have this space for us to kind of like brainstorming what we can do and what each subcommittee can do, that would be great. And the other part is that I would love to also want to hear from all of our city councilors as well, because they're part of our community and part of the city of Revere. So I would love to have those opportunities to kind of involve people, to inform our work moving forward.
I think the two subjects of like topics really do go in hand. I think it just comes with how like how would you do it sequentially? So which one would it make more sense to do? To do a listening tour and really understanding the multitude of issues that are going on in our city, and then going with that mindset into a training to be like, okay, based off all these issues and all of these things that we see in our community, how can we apply that more as a Human Rights Commission? Or would it make sense to start with that training from a more experienced Human Rights Commission and then go into a listening tour with that background information from people who've handled either different scenarios or the same scenarios that we might find to see in the community? So like, which one would make sense to go first?
If I may, I'm glad that Commissioner Pitch, that you brought this up, because that's kind of what was going into my mind when I was saying, I think it would be a really good idea to space out the training and the workshop, because it's good to get an idea from other people, what they're doing in different cities, and how they set up their HRCs and what they do, and then kind of go back, at least for me, I was thinking, go back into community and consider, like, so what does that even look like for us? And I also very much value like community consideration in that way. I don't know what exactly you're envisioning with a listening tour, but something that I think would be very valuable for us to consider maybe doing to bring it back to community is not necessarily putting ourselves out there to try and figure out exactly I think everything that our community wants, because sometimes even just recording that can be like an overwhelming thing for us to come back and try to tackle with our plan. But I think it is important for us, once we hear about what other people are doing in their HRCs in different cities, to come back and look at ourselves and consider, why do we even have a Human Rights Commission? And there's a whole history of like how we even came to have an HRC. And there are a lot of community members that we all know that were very crucial in making the HRC possible. And I think those would be the perfect people to turn to get a better idea of like how this even came about, because that should be informing how we do what we do, especially going into the next year.
I guess before, sorry, Commissioner Pitch, I would like to give the space for, Chief Callahan, Father Wellington, Vice Chair Jean Baptiste, Chief Bright, and Attorney Molly McGee, and even Mr. Morbido I would like to hear your thoughts about exactly what's going on, and like, what are your ideas in terms of how we can move forward with the training and the listening tour, and how we could really intersect them moving forward. So like, what are your thoughts?
I think this is a very good conversation. Myself, I'm still trying to figure it out, like I know, as Dr. Garcia said, we need to identify, find out, what is the role of this commission. I think many of people, like from Rivera, they may not know if this commission existed. And then they may not know, what, if something happened to them in terms of, discrimination when it's come to housing. Let's say that someone probably tried to rent an apartment, and then someone discriminated against that person. They don't know which body, they have to go, to find out, how they can get justice for this kind of behavior. We're talking about, a community. Many of our community, people, they would like to see some kind of action if something happened. As Mr. Garcia said, they have a lot of, injustice done around the world. Look at what's going on in the Palestine, the city, as a commissioner, human rights. This is the most important, commission that we have in the city for me, when it's come, to commission. I think the other issues I have, we're talking about Cambridge. Every city, they have their own bylaws, that they go by. And then Rivera probably have their own bylaws, that they have. Do we have to go find out, what we can do, specifically, in terms of this body, when it's come, to Rivera? What can we do, what we cannot do? The other thing we probably need to investigate, we bring another city to come to the city to do some kind of training? Can we go to another city, find out like kind of if we can attend this training? Those are the things like kind of we probably need to do. I think what I will say, I'm still like kind of when it's come like kind of to human rights, what we need to do as a body in this city, how we can protect our people who live in the city when it's come to injustice, and how we can create awareness like kind of to the city wide. If something happened, how we can probably help them when it's come like if something done, a terrible thing to these people, and then how we can make sure like kind of we come to like kind of set up some kind of meeting, maybe like kind of they can come to this commission, like kind of say, okay, look, this is what happened to me, and then we can bring some kind of issues, like kind of how we deal with it. I think that's something like kind of I don't want to get more into it, but I think we need to find out like kind of from the Cambridge side, from the Revere, the bylaws from the city, like kind of in terms of body-wise, like kind of what we can do or what we cannot do. But I think all that said, I'm very pleased, like kind of where everybody bring their own issues, like kind of how we can work together to make sure, like kind of this body serve, like kind of the city of Revere and the community.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Jean-Baptiste. Go ahead, Attorney Molly McGee.
Thank you so much, Chair Husseini. Two things, I guess, because I'm in charge of the History and Education Subcommittee, so I have a bias that I think that is how I started to understand the work I wanted to do on the HRC, and it's my vision that everybody's on that subcommittee with me. I think everybody on this group feels like they're on the subcommittee with me because I've utilized everybody, I've talked with people. I want to take this time then to commend Director Morabito for connecting me and supporting me from the mayor's office with this collaboration, connecting me to the technology department. Really appreciate that. I really appreciate the mayor's office seeing this vision and understanding the history of the HRC and wanting to make it a part of City Hall. That speaks volumes. This went on, I started this project before you were our director, before the current mayor was our mayor. I'm hopeful, I haven't had a chance to speak about it, but I'm hopeful that my collaboration with the technology department will fruit into some kind of a training with either the subcommittee or the entirety of the Human Rights Commission, just so you can learn about the project that I already shared with you, and then it so happens that there was people within the City Hall that are also interested in the history of Revere. So there was other smaller projects that now were merging, and it's really always what I wanted was more voices involved in this project. I'm not from Revere. I've lived here for several years now, but I wanted to get as many people from Revere involved in this history, and then also make it clear why we're here, why we need to be here. And then as I transition into collaborating with Cambridge, I was the one with Commissioner Pitch kind of spearheading this idea of where can we shoot to be on this HRC. And I'll just say that I'm not here to follow the status quo or necessarily listen to what they tell me the laws are and aren't. Maybe it's inherent in my job, but those are meant to be rewritten sometimes. And that's what we're here to do. So I, as a criminal defense attorney, have learned about circle practice, and I love it for some pretrial. I'm looking over there at the chief. I love that for some pretrial in lieu of incarceration, that these are practices that me getting trained in this commission, working with the different chiefs, people involved in public safety, people involved in education, we're changing the way the laws are. We're changing the way City Hall's run.
Thank you, Attorney McGee. I know Commissioner Pitch, you wanted to speak. Go ahead.
So I just want to go back and for new commissioners. So I've been sitting here. I totally understand the mission statement clearly. And if I am here, let's say been here for 3 years and I don't understand the mission statement, it's our fault. It's my fault not being able to transfer that information to the new commissioners. All those, I also, because we've been doing a lot of work, I don't want us to kind of like cut ourselves short, that we've been sitting together looking at shared value, principle, and mission, and we have put a lot of work into it. I think it just how we deliver that information that we gather and the product that we put together. So how do we deliver that? So now we have all the masterpiece. How do we deliver that? And I also want to share that also for we coming from a different background, right? We all have shared understanding, or we might not have that. I would love that opportunity for us to come together to really looking at what is our shared value and understanding, what are our stories, right? And then also, I would love to work on the requirement in order for, so like for example, I'm doing domestic violence training. Every staff who's coming to work at Habaco need to go through domestic violence training and understanding the complexity, the safety, and all of that. And I would love to create that understanding and training in order for you to sit in this table. I mean, in this, like here are the requirements that each commissioner have to go through. Like what kind of training, such as oppression, undoing racism training, oppression, unconscious bias, or any other training that will also help us, right, to do our own work as well. Because it's so important for us to have all of those awareness and doing our own work, including, the understanding of LGBTQIA community, people with disability, people of color, immigration, gender-based, biases and gender inequality, so on and so forth. So we can, like each one of us sitting here, have to go through these series of training. I'm just laying out the groundwork. And then the other piece is that now we have a masterpiece. We need to have the tool, how we get to the community and gather those information that will inform our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pitch. I think moving on from all the things that people have mentioned, to Commissioner Pitch's point about like having all these trainings that a commissioner should go through, especially being a part of a human rights commission, are there ways of doing that if we are gonna allocate time specifically for like a bigger general training like we've mentioned between the city of Cambridge and having the listening tour? I assume there are ways of doing that individually, correct? If we have all these trainings that we need to do in order to move on with what our vision of the city, there should be ways of how to either do it together. If we want to save the most amount of time, I think it's better for us to do those trainings individually at first, and then really come together to see like what are our thoughts on each of the trainings. But yeah, like in terms of individualized trainings, to see like what is provided in the community, if there are already modules being made for commissioners like us for us to do them online. Do you folks think that we should do all that first before we even think about coming together or doing a listening tour? Yep. Go ahead.
What has been described to me thus far sounds like it's going to be an overwhelming project for a group of this size. Especially if I'm assuming everything the aim would be to be doing it before the beginning of the fiscal year. I just kind of think that in order to guide our priorities, it's important to consider that, as much as we are all learning how to go about, running this HRC, and as much as we are learning in our positions, the city and like our community that we want to be building with is also in need of learning at the same time. And that kind of learning can happen at the same time. I think even if we push until later, like we want to have certain kind of trainings, I think we could do those, like a specific kind of training, like on domestic violence awareness or on, I don't know, like understanding our disabled community or our queer community or whatever it is, and making those kind of like a project where like as we learn, we communicate whatever we've learned to the public at the same time. Like that can be like a thing that we do or plan to do as we function normally. I think like it's more important for us to prioritize at the moment kind of what can we do and like what our mission is and all of that before we go forward with trying to tackle all of these other trainings. Like I think like the circle training makes sense to prioritize because we said that we wanted, or someone, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. I don't remember who had mentioned it, but it made sense the way that it was described to me for us to prioritize, for example, the circle training, because that would be guiding how we run our meetings forward after that training. I think just a little bit of prioritization would be nice, because otherwise everybody has different schedules and the fiscal year. I mean, we're in April now and it's supposed to start in July. And it seems like we have a lot of time, but we might not.
Thank you, Commissioner LaRusse. Father Wellington, Chief Wright, Chief Callahan, any thoughts?
I start with the principle that it's very ancient, that it takes a community to form who a person is. We have beautiful words, but our people here in Revere, they do not really work as a community. There is a lot of separation because of faith, because of place that they come from, because of the color of their skin, because of the social status. And if we, as a commission, do not show tasks, and if we do not present ourselves as a solution and also as a way for them to denounce what is not working properly in the defense of their dignity, then we are going to keep ourselves just discussing the same things over and over again. I will side with my fellows that said since the beginning that we have to understand the value of the human person, of what a human person is, despite of these other things that are part of who we are and the dignity, and for that we need the training of someone that is equipped with that sort of knowledge to help us to go not only through the law, but through the deep understanding of the human person. And then a way to educate our people, not only through the schools, but to educate the people of Revere, so that they will understand that if we do not work together as a community, if we do not defend each other, if we do not understand that what hurts in the other also hurts in me, then we just spin the wheels. So I think that we do need training in this sense, and that has to be something that, and I will side with Mr. Morabito, we cannot wait the beginning of the next fiscal year, because we cannot be working blindly right now, starting a process right now without having tasks, goals, and a deep understanding of what we are doing in this sense. Otherwise, it is just good intentions that does not go anywhere.
Thank you, Father Wellington. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm in agreement with the training components, because there's a lot of different training out there. And we can do some in-person training, as Commissioner McGee talked about the circle training. That's beneficial sometimes to resolve some conflicts. I've been through the different circle trainings in the past, and it's been helpful to communicate and connect with people, especially when, there's a major issue, and you can kind of get everyone on a level playing field, and we can try to resolve, a problem or an incident. And, there's different things, and I think it would be very beneficial if we could start with a circle training, and then there's other trainings we could get online that maybe you could do it. We wouldn't have to do some of the training as a group. You could do it online and get it, like, as Karu mentioned, domestic violence, very important thing in the community, to let the victims know we support them and where they can go for assistance and how to navigate some of those things, because we have a lot of people that don't come forward. They're afraid to. And there's a lot of different barriers, cultural, language, things like that, and I think they're afraid. And I think stuff like that could be beneficial. So on the training component, I think there's a lot of ideas we can do it, and there's some flexibility there, and it would help.
Thank you, Chief Callahan. Go ahead, Father Wellington.
So if I can suggest, we can identify as a homework some fields that we would like to invest in training, and then we divide the people here in the committee to go to this training, to go to the other training, and then we can share what we have received in this sense.
Just to clarify, so what you're suggesting is that different members of the community would do different, sorry, not community, the commission would do different trainings, and then we would all come together to just share the thoughts that we've learned from. Okay.
That's what.
All right. Thank you, Father Wellington. Chief, yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Pitch. Or unless Chief Bright has anything to say. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Chair Josedi, I'm more than happy to put a list of trainings together and then share with the whole commissioner, and then everyone can add to that. And I will also get the resources for us as well. I can start with that.
Yeah, I think if we have that that list of trainings, just so like we don't have to spend time like really planning out when we're all gonna meet, we could all do it individually. And then since the circle training is something that we wanted to do for a long time, going to Father Wellington's point and Chief Callahan's point that if there's anything we can do for the rest of the fiscal year, in my opinion, is to plan for that circle training and end the year with that. Go ahead, Attorney McGee.
You could tell I wanted to speak. Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Commissioner Pitch just said. You kind of glazed over it, but what you just said is a lot. Thank you so much for coordinating and getting the list together for those trainings, because I've seen Commissioner Pitch's work through Harbor Cove, and you act like it's nothing. I mean, it's a lot that you're willing to offer that for us, and so thank you so much, and all of us are eager to do this training, and we just don't know what to do, so that you just say you're just gonna put it together for us and act like it's so easy and it's nothing. Thank you so much. And we should all be so lucky to be engaged in these trainings that you're gonna offer to us.
I echo that sentiment in terms of the resources that you are going to provide for us and the resources that you provided for us in the past. I've definitely used them. And that like we could also, I wouldn't say publicize, but like we could make that list available for the rest of City Hall for anyone who is available in the multitude of different trainings. Because I know we have I know we're currently in the 20-day equity challenge. So I've seen like City Hall be a part of that, but to have that list available for anyone to see just beyond that can go to Molly's vision about how we could not only change the HRC, but all of City Hall at the same time. So that's our way of putting two and two together. But I think moving forward, just so we could end on some sort of conclusion at the end of this meeting, if, and anyone can disagree with me or just add on to the idea, I think if there's anything that we should do to really spearhead the rest of the year, whether that be thinking about this listening tour or organizing with other commissions around City of Revere. I think the first thing that we should do, if it is something that we want to incorporate, and that's something that I've heard from people wanting to incorporate, is to do the circle training. Since that's what we want our meetings to be moving forward. So if there's anything that we should do for from now until June 30th, it would be setting up that meeting with I assume it is Strong Oath, correct? And really think about how can we take that circle training and the thought process about how to think about it in terms of a circle, in terms of a circle strategy to move forward with the rest of the things that we want to do for the next fiscal year. So what are your folks' thoughts on that in terms of planning for that?
So the circle training normally takes 2.5 days because it's going through very details. So if we can commit to 2.5 days, and then also Director Morabito, possible that we have the funding to do it for this fiscal year. And if we do, I know that Strong Oak, she's busy for the month of May, and I can email her starting tomorrow, so if we can come up with a few dates to give it to her. But we have to decide first. It's a 2.5-day commitment, and it's worth it. I promise it's worth it.
If that's something that everyone's committed to doing, I'll definitely send an email out tonight just to list off you said 2.5 days, so essentially just 3 days that we could dedicate to, and then we could have, we could see where everyone is personally, and then from there, if I get a general consensus, I'll send out another email saying like, this is the days that everyone has agreed upon, just so we could have that communication between us. Anyone else for that?
I just have a quick question about the circle training, because I've never really heard about it outside of this. You said 2.5 days. Can you expand a little bit more? Like, I'm just curious, like how many hours and how, I guess, it's split up?
So usually, when we do circle practice training for the first module, it's 2.5 days, but we can probably scale down to 2 days since we're all working full time. So normally it starts from 9 to 5, and it has different components to it for both days. And we'll be sitting in a circle together, going through those training. And the training that you're going through, you can also become a trainer yourself, like train the trainer as well. Not just learning the basic of the circle, but you can also host the circle after the training. You can host the circle in a community, you can co-host, whichever way you would like to. And yes.
I think if everyone is in favor for the thing that we're going to focus on for the next, just go ahead, Mr. Morabito.
I also want to let you know that the city will have the Racial Equity Institute doing some training. So if anyone on this commission wants to sign up, it is a 2-day training in May. It's foundational training in historical and institutional racism workshops. This is something that Chief Callahan is also having some of his police officers taking as well. So it's a 2-day training. They will have a light breakfast and lunch, but I believe it's a Monday and Tuesday in May, the middle of May. If you guys, whoever's interested, I can sign you up if you come to me after tonight's meeting.
Do you know when the dates for the training will be made available? No. Okay. Thank you. I think, yeah, before we head off to other business for the rest of the meeting, can I just have an agreement that for the next month and a half, well, from here until the end of the fiscal year, to really just focus on getting this training together so that we could dedicate I know Commissioner Pitch mentioned that may not be the time for us since Strong Oak is going to be busy, so maybe just we could dedicate our June meeting to that. Instead of coming here for the meeting, we could dedicate whatever we're doing in June to just a 2-day training. If Strong Oak is available, if everyone is available for any times in June. Yeah, so I guess like I'm glad that we're starting off somewhere. I know it's been a grueling 2.5 months of just going back to see like where are we going to start off the next fiscal year? What is going to be our plan? And I'm glad that we've came to some sort of conclusion. I mean, obviously this is not just it. This is just the beginning of our process to getting more involved in the community. So I'm really proud of us for us to finally come to a place to start. I know for some of us it's not the place that we wanted, but it's definitely a really good place to start since I've been wanting to do this training for a long time as well. Before we head off, is there any businesses that any of the commissioners would like to bring up that we could discuss for the rest of the meeting? That is of importance? Anything? No? Is that? Alrighty. Well, in that case, can I please, is there anyone in Zoom? All right, and there's no one here with us. Can I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn the meeting, Madam Chair.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for joining us on this amazing Thursday evening, and have a good night.